Radio. Our website is www.therealnewsradio.com. We're joined with Alan Watt, cuttingthroughthematrix.com. Urge everyone to go look at his website if you haven't already. And Alan, I want to go into something Zbigniew Brzezinski wrote here. This was in the technocratic era, and I'm going to read it primarily for our listeners. I'm sure you've heard this before. At the same time, the capacity to assert social and political control over the individual will vastly increase. It will soon be possible to assert almost continuous control over every citizen and maintain follow-up date files containing even the most personal details about personal behavior of every citizen, in addition to the more customary data. These files will be subject to instantaneous retrieval by the authorities. Power will gravitate into the hands of those who control information. And again, that was a technocratic era and they're just coming right out and admitting their agenda here. Isn't that the case, Alan?
That's exactly true. He told us this before the internet came on the scene, and see, they had everything was planned in advance, and that's what they do. They plan the future. These think tanks that work for these big foundations, they actually plan the future, and they guide the future. And in other words, they have the money to do it, they have the personnel to do it, organization to do it, and the connections to do it, so they can bring in the kind of future they want. And only when everyone is completely predictable, having all your data, your daily data collected, and you're being watched, only then will you be completely predictable as an individual. And that is perfect tyranny. That's what they've always been after. They feel safe when we're all predictable. And not only that, what he's telling you is that all the different services that came into being, police, remember, are a service, supposedly. Health services, they're now all authorities. And they're dictating that we must take shots, and we must do this, and we must do that. This is your perfect socialist, world socialist system. And socialism, remember, is to be run by an elite at the top. Rockefeller himself said it was far better to have the world run by intellectuals and bankers than to leave it to the auto-determination of individual nations as to where they want to go. So it's really a kind of fascism at the top, with the very wealthy and the intelligentsia working for them, and the people down below have to be run in a communistic fashion. That's what the true meaning of socialism. And we're seeing it emerge today exactly as they printed out in many of their books. It's coming into being. It's the planned society. Planned society. And some of the Brzezinski's friends and the Kissingers have said that eventually you will be born. If the world state needs you, you will be born to serve the world state. You will not be born if they don't need you. That's all coming to pass as we speak. We can see it. They've got their flags flying high right now. They believe they've achieved their goal. And it's not just from a particular party coming in. All parties for many, many generations have been run by the same group. And most presidents and prime ministers across the world are members of the Council on Foreign Relations. Professor Quigley, remember, was the historian for the CFR, the Council on Foreign Relations, and in Tragedy and Hope, and his other book, The Anglo-American Establishment, he said, and this was written back in the 1960s, he said, this parallel government has been running the world for 60 years already. And Margaret Thatcher, when she left politics, she also now belonged to this parallel government. She says the old governments are too cumbersome, they can't get things done. We have a job to do, an agenda, and she says we are not responsible to the public. That's what's happened, and that's what is happening right now too.
Something you're touching on there, that the internet is being used as a tool to spread the truth by patriots like yourself. Do you see an attempt in the near future to ban or limit free speech on the internet?
Yes. In fact, it's already figured out. You've heard of cloud internet, the cloud, where all our data will be in remote servers. We won't need hard drives in our computers. They'll store all your personal data for you and say it's so much better. Your computers won't crash. Your information will always be retrievable wherever you are from any computer. And you won't be bothered with spyware and all this stuff, and reloading programs. But it'll be used as a form of social control, a tool. Because without the internet very shortly, you'll be unable to function as we go completely into electronic cash. You must have internet. And just like, remember these guys use Pavlovian techniques, punishment and reward. So if you're a good little boy who's very politically correct, and they can upgrade you with new PC stuff all the time, you'll have access to your cloud's computer with remote access. If you buck the system or disagree with something, they will deny you access until you conform it. So they use it for a form of social punishment and also censorship. There's no doubt whatsoever. Many of the big boys and the big think tanks have already come out with this agenda, and it's been formatted through the United Nations. They've discussed this stuff as a way of censoring the internet. Absolutely.
And Alan, we also see, many means of social manipulation here, like, of course, the use of environmentalism, terrorism, creating a conflict within society to ultimately change it in their favor.
Yes. Yes, the whole thing. They needed 9/11 to happen, and that's why, as I say, it must be. It wouldn't matter who they put in as president, what party they put in, but they had to get it moving, and that was the kickoff across the world. And the main telling point is that every country immediately signed the same omnibus terror bills into law at the same time. You know how long it takes bureaucrats to draft up one sheet of paper, never mind thousands, and go back for revision and more talks, discussions, and back for revision. That means that all of this was done, set up years ago to commission. It also tells you that we've been international for an awful long time.
We're going to be coming up on a break in about 2 minutes, Mr. Watt, but I wanted to touch on something else. You said the Obama administration is just awash in Council on Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission, Bilderberg members, and he has already backed out of so many promises he made as when he was campaigning, and this should open the eyes of some of the people. But could you comment on what your perception is? Do you see the presidency as just a puppet post controlled by the globalist bankers and these secret organizations, and why can the American people not seem to connect the dots?
It's a form of mind conditioning. The mainstream media does not go into the Trilateral Commission or the Council on Foreign Relations. The mainstream will often mention CFR, but they won't explain to the public what it is. So the public still are under the impression that we really vote these people in, and they really are there to help us. That's the illusion of it, that we've been trained this way. They don't go into the foundations that are behind it, or how many members of governments are members of the CFR. They don't even tell them that the CFR is set up to bring in world government. That's his function. That is his function. So when you have many people at the top, members of the CFR and Trilateral Commission, which is just another branch of the CFR with another special task, the people can't connect the dots. The people have to be...
We're coming up on a break, Mr. Watt. Hold on to that thought, and we'll be back with Alan Watt, cuttingthroughthematrix.com in 3 minutes.